Thank you, Chairman Mast. Thank you, Ambassador Abercrombie-Winstanley, for your public service. The State Department has had and continues to have certain policies that disproportionately and negatively impact minorities. And one of those policies were assignment restrictions that Representative Kim so eloquently talked about, where state employment employees would simply be given a notice they could not work on certain countries. And as far as Representative Kim could tell, it was just based on his race. And when we looked at the data, it did appear that certain groups, such as Asian Americans, were negatively impacted. I commend Secretary Blinken for eliminating all assignment restrictions on a going forward basis. I commend Secretary Blinken for eliminating half, actually more than half of the existing assignment restrictions. So my first question is to you is, I assume you agree with Secretary Blinken's policy changes?
Yes, absolutely.
And you would agree that having these policies in would have a negative impact on the State Department to attract the best and brightest, because if you believe that you were hampered from being able to work on a certain area of the world, you're never going to make it to the upper levels of management, correct?
I don't believe we have or should have second-class American citizens. So,
I appreciate your view and your comment on that. So let me ask you this: why not remove all assignment restrictions right now? There's still some existing in the State Department.
I can take that question back to the department because my office is not involved in the discussions with DS on this particular issue. So I'd have to take that question back.
Thank you. Great if you could do that. And then if you could take another question back, which is this. The State Department has a separate process called pass-throughs, also known as assignment reviews, which would also restrict someone from working on a certain area or a certain country for a specific assignment. Mm-hmm. And I think some of the employee groups within the State Department are concerned that this is sort of a backdoor way to simply implement assignment restrictions. So if you could also take back the question of, we'd like to know how are these decisions being made and why is this not simply a backdoor way of implementing assignment restrictions? And if we could get the answer to that, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely.
Okay. A question to you about trying to attract the best and brightest to the State Department. Does your office pay for advertising in media and so on to try to let people know about openings, or is that another office that does that?
Not my office, no.
Okay. But the State Department does do that, correct? Do they pay for sort of advertisements to try to let people know about openings?
I don't know, so I will take that question back. I assume everybody wants to come work for us. I don't know that we pay for it. I assume we do, but I'll take the question back.
Okay, and then if you could take another question back is, if the State Department in fact has a policy of spending money to try to get the word out, does the State Department then also advertise in various ethnic media sources?
Yeah.
And I'm just sort of curious how people know about State Department open positions. By the way, like you, I grew up in Ohio, never thought about the State Department, had no idea what it was. And I don't know how many Americans actually even know what State Department means. If you just sort of said those two words, I'm not sure a lot of folks would even have any understanding. And so just curious how the State Department does outreach to try to attract the best and brightest to the department.
I know that we do advertise. I mean, I see our advertisements on LinkedIn and other places. So again, it's the funding of it that I'm going to question. But yeah, I think it's really important that we do, and it is important that we get to Americans outside of our East Coast, West Coast, that we need people from all 50 states, and so we can do that.
So I'm glad you mentioned LinkedIn, which is sort of interesting, because you also said something to that I did not know, which is you can join the State Department without a college degree. I think LinkedIn has a sort of a certain audience, and I'm just curious, how does a State Department reach out to people who don't have college degrees or who may not actually use LinkedIn or sort of traditional processes to try to find jobs? And If you get that back to us, that'd be great, and I yield back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.